series of Rare Book Talks. Today I'm featuring our collection of Mark Twain first editions. Samuel Longhorn Clemens was born November 30th, 1835. He lost two siblings before he was 8 years old. At 11 years old, his father died, and he left school to help support his family. In 1851, his older brother Orion bought the Hannibal Journal, so Sam and his younger brother Henry worked as typesetters, and occasionally Sam would contribute articles using several different pen names. It was in 1863 that he established Mark Twain as his permanent persona. He left Hannibal in 1853 and traveled for nearly 20 years. In 1856, he briefly lived in Cincinnati until he became restless, booking a passage on a steamboat to New Orleans. He was working on the boat when he became enamored with river life. He persuaded Captain Horace Bixby to take him on as an apprentice. He acquired his pilot's license in 1859. His Life on the River was his inspiration for Life on the Mississippi, published in 1883. Many of his works were published first as a serial in newspapers and magazines. His first book was The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, published in 1867, with a collection of other short stories. This first appeared in the New York Saturday Press in November 1865. It made him a sudden celebrity. He moved to New York City and took a trip to Europe and the Holy Lands, paid by the San Francisco Alta California for a series of 50 letters documenting the trip. His wry sense of humor became well established in the subsequent book Innocents Abroad, published in 1869. Innocents Abroad sold 70,000 copies in its first year, and it was his best-selling book during his lifetime. And it was on this trip that he met his future brother-in-law, Charlie Langdon. Samuel Clemens married Olivia Livy Langdon February 2nd, 1870. They had 4 children. The first child was a son, Langdon, who died of diphtheria when he was less than 2 years old. Out of his 3 daughters, Susie, Clara, and Jean, only Clara survived him. It was in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, published in 1876, that we see his mischievous nature personified. It was in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, published in 1876, that we see his mischievous nature personified. He wrote of an idyllic, innocent childhood that was complete fiction. He is probably best known for The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, published in 1884. The main character was loosely based on his childhood friend, Tom Blankenship. In 1889, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court was published. It was a satire of feudalism and romantic chivalry. He deeply disliked the romanticism of Sir Walter Scott. Twain embraced democracy and ingenuity in this comedic work. After the Panic of 1893, Clemens declared personal bankruptcy. He had to rebuild his career by going on lecture tours. These tours made him a world-renowned humorist. In The Tragedy of Pudd'nhead Wilson and the Comedy of Those Extraordinary Twins, was published in 1894, he lambasted small-town politics, religion, slavery, and racism. The Personal Recollections of Joan of Arc, published in 1869, Twain considered his best book, stating it took 12 years of preparation and 2 years to write. He based his description of Joan on his recollections of his deceased daughter, Susie. He hid that he was the author when it was first published, once saying he wrote it for love, not money. The last book featured is Eve's Diary, published in 1906. This was written after his wife died in 1904. The tender humor reflects the affection he had for his wife. After receiving 3 honorary doctoral degrees, first from Yale in 1901, then University of Missouri in 1902, and the University of Oxford, England in 1907, in 1908 he attempted to trademark his name, Mark Twain. Sadly, his daughter Jean died by drowning in her bath, apparently having suffered an epileptic seizure on Christmas Eve morning in 1909. Twain himself died April 21st, 1910, from a heart attack. In addition to his books, we have a few manuscript letters and his educational game, Mark Twain's Memory Builder, patented in 1885. In 1998, the Kennedy Center created the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, memorializing this American icon. I hope you enjoy reading the books I've mentioned on our digital library. Thank you.